Hi, welcome to Chapter 3 of Cold Calling Made Easy. I'm Mark Beggs from Right Frame Academy and Europe's #1 success and motivating coach. So that's Chapter 3. The games have begun. We're ready to hit the first door. And you're probably still thinking about selling. And what's the key thing I told you? We're not going out to sell today. Selling has nothing to do with cold calling. We're going out prospecting. We're going out knocking on doors, looking for information. So relax. The first key thing you need to figure out is your target area. Find an area you're going to go to. Ideally, somewhere where you can park the car and you're going to start walking around an estate. So we may have an industrial estate. So let's assume today you're in stationery. That's what we're going to do. They remember the real sellers of the past, the double glazed men. These are the men who parked at the beginning of a housing estate and went door to door. They had their folder, they had their briefcase, they had their samples, they had all their information, and off they went, door to door to door to door, knocking on things, trying to sell their wares. You're today a double glazed man. That's your job. You're either a double glazed man or a double glazed woman. That's your job now today. Okay? But you're not selling double glazing. Let's assume, as I said, you're selling stationery or whatever your product is. The first key thing that you need to figure out, as I said, is your target area. So let's pick somewhere that suits you. Somewhere maybe an industrial park or maybe a shopping centre, somewhere where you're going to park and off you go to start knocking on the doors. So when you've decided to pick your area, and it's easy done, let's face it, with the internet nowadays, you can easily look at shopping centres to see where there's a cluster of all the clients that may suit you. Now, some businesses you may have to get in the car and move to the next stop and the next stop, but let's assume you're in the one area. Before we get out of the car, before we move, let's just do a quick check. Do you have your business cards? Do you have your business card ready and easy to hand out to? Do you have your information sheet? There's some people staple their business card to the top of their information sheet. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't like it. I like the approach of giving the card first. Because let's face it, on the information sheet, as I said, you already have all the information about yourself that's on the card. So you're giving the people who you're talking to the information twice, which is a good idea. And hopefully now you have a nice, well laid out information sheet as I explained. This is something you're going to leave behind. So I said to you before, make sure it looks the part. Make sure it explains your company and make sure this one-page double-sided information sheet does your company justice and more importantly does you justice. Okay? So you have your pen, you have your note paper. I assume you're dressed to impress. I assume you look the part. I assume you feel $1 million and that you feel relaxed. Okay. Now, here's how it's going to work. And here's how it always works. When you walk up to the first door or the first business you walk in, most times the first person you're going to see is the receptionist. And him or her is going to ask you who you are. So always introduce yourself with a smile, explaining who you are. Hi, I'm Mark Beggs from Right Frame Academy. Sorry for just dropping by. I'm in the area today, just giving out some information about myself and my company. We do stationery. And I just wanted to speak to everyone who's in charge, maybe the person of the stationery, just for 2 or 3 minutes to leave them my information so that they have a full idea of who we are all about. That's the type of approach you're going to make. Nice and casual. Did you hear me say selling? No, didn't mention the word selling. I said I was in the area and I wanted to leave the information with them. I didn't mention selling. Right? Now, when you ask for the person who's maybe purchased, who's in charge of person, if the receptionist says, well, they're not here, sorry, or they're in a meeting, they weren't expecting you, that's no problem. I do appreciate that. That's no problem. I was dropping in on a spec, so I know they weren't expecting me. So I'll tell you what I'll do. Do you mind I'll leave my card and my information sheet? So maybe I can drop back next week or next time I'm in the area. I'll give them a shout on the phone. Most receptionists will say yes. Unless they've taken a complete dislike to you, they're going to say yes. Why? Because they want to get you out of their office. It's as simple as that. So when you hand over the information pack, your business card and your fact sheet, what's your next question? You're going to have your notebook out and you're going to say, now do you mind, can I just take his name and number or email address so that I can just give him a buzz during the week? It's as simple as that. And most of them say, oh yeah, it's John Smith and his email address is johnsmith@iwillhelpyou.academy. It's as simple as that. Okay? So if the person is not there, all is not lost. It's still doable. You've still walked away with the one thing you wanted. And what was the one thing you wanted? The business card. That business card from that company is going to give you so much information about that company. So much information. Even though you've talked to only the receptionist, you have the key person's name who will do the purchasing or looks after buying the service that you're selling. Now, what happens if the person is there? More than likely, they're going to say, sorry, where are you from again? Oh yeah, give the receptionist your card. So when she's calling on the phone internally to ask that person to come out to see you, they have your information. They don't have to remember it. Oh yeah, it's Mark Beggs from Right Frame Academy. He was just dropping by the area. He just wanted to leave in an information pack for you. Brilliant, okay. When this person comes out, let's call him John Smith. It's the same thing. You're going to approach John, hand out. Always have the hand out. John, how you doing? Mark Beggs from Right Frame Academy. Sorry for disturbing you. I'm just in the area and I just wanted to drop in my business card and information pack sheet about my company and the products we do. I hope that's okay. And as you're talking, you've taken your hand back, you're handing over your card and you're taking your information sheet out of your folder. So John doesn't really have a time to react. He's taken your business card, he's taken your information sheet. You haven't asked him to buy anything. Remember, I haven't said don't buy anything. So when John's done that, you're going to say now, John, I know you're very busy. I do appreciate it. So I won't keep you. I just wanted to hand these things in. Would you have a business card? So maybe down the road or maybe in a week's time or 2 weeks' time, I can give you a buzz and come back and talk to you. Most times, the Johns of this world will give you the business card or will say, actually, I left it in the office. Again, the notepad. Don't worry about that, John. It's John. What's your surname, John? Will it get you that email address? Okay, email address. Bye. Perfect, John. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for your time. We haven't tried to sell. Have we sold? No, we haven't sold. We've given them nothing. We haven't sold anything to them. And that was the key thing in this whole exercise. You've left the car. You've walked up. You've introduced yourself. We haven't sold. Do not try and sell. But what have you done? What's the sign at the end of every computer game? If you play computer games, game over. You've won. You've walked in there with the sole purpose of getting that chap or that lady's business card and delivering your business card and your one-page information sheet. You haven't tried and sell them anything. You just delivered your information, which is exactly what I wanted you to do. I didn't want you to sell. And once you do that once or twice or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times, you're laughing. Now, one of the key things about today and playing this game, you need to set yourself a target. Decide at the beginning of the day how many business cards you're going to get. Now, I didn't want you just to collect one. I want you to set a reasonable target. Maybe 20, maybe 30, maybe 40. So to win the game, to really win the game today, you need to set the target and reach that target. And reaching 20 or 30, it's not that hard. Once you get the confidence of doing 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 correctly, without the stress, without the sweat in the brow, without the palms being wet, and being relaxed, you will stand straighter, you will look straighter, and you will feel more confident walking up to someone. So it's all about the approach. And it's all about what cold calling is all about. Hot prospecting. You're gathering information from someone to use at a later date to sell your product to them. It's as simple as that. Now, if you want to go for bonus points, we talk about bonus points in chapter 3. All games have bonus points. All games have a way of getting more points to win the game. Getting the business card, yeah, you've won the game, but how would you really like to win the game? How would you really like to get the bonus points to make you really, really good at what you do? How would you like to make the cold calling into a double whammy? Not just getting the business card, but getting something else from it. And in chapter 4, we're going to talk about the bonus points. How we can get the bonus points. So just to recap, before you go in, set the target for the day. How many business cards you're going to collect? 1? No, anyone can do 1. 20, 30, make it realistic. But also make it stretchable. Work for it. Because the more you do today, the more you do tomorrow, the better you're going to get at cold calling. That's what it's all about. Pick the area you're going to do. Make sure it's an area that you know. Make sure that all the businesses are in the area. If you have to drive from each one, so be it. But be ready to do that. Make sure you have your key tools. Make sure you have your business cards. Make sure you have your pen, your notepad, and make sure you're dressed to impress. And when you walk into a company, the minute you open that door, the minute you walk up the path, start smiling. You're happy. Do you know why you're happy? Because the meeting has already been successful. You've already done what you set out to do. Have that in your head. The minute you get out the car, you've won. You've done what you set out to do. You've got the business card. Even before you hit that door, visualize it. You've done it. You're very good at what you do. You're an expert at what you do. If you do enough cold calling, you will become fantastic. You will start to have what the old sales reps of the past have. The patter, the banter, the spiel, call it what you will. They had it because they were real salespeople. There's an awful lot of salespeople in the world today who are only order takers. They call themselves salespeople, but they're selling something everybody wants. People doing Apple iPhones. They're not salespeople, they're order takers because we want to buy the Apple iPhone or we want to buy the car that's now the car of the month. They're not salespeople, they're order takers. What you are going to become is a salesperson, a real salesperson who grows sales from nothing, from knocking on doors you've never knocked on before and turning that into a business and into sales and into a career. And that's what cold calling is all about. As I said in the introduction and in every chapter, just to remind you, at the end of this, at the end of chapter 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, you have a 30-minute free mentoring call with me. And at the end of the book, at the end of this video, we'll give you the information how to do that. So make sure you're taking the notes and make sure you're listening to the chapters once or twice again. As I said, the way we've designed this whole thing is that you can play it back on your iPhone or your iPad before you go into a meeting. So before you get out of the car for your next cold call, listen to chapter 3 again. Just remind yourself the mindset to be in going in. Just remind yourself of maybe the few steps you want to take, that you're not selling. You're putting out the hand. You have the smile in the face. Have the business card ready. Have your information sheet. It's a few simple things that when you start doing it, it'll just become the norm and you just get very good at what you do. So chapter 4 is all about the bonus points. But you need to be really good to be up for the bonus points. And the question is, how good are you to be able to read chapter 4 and listen to her and get the bonus points? Okay, talk to you very shortly.